You've been told your entire life that you're in control, that your choices shape your future, your thoughts create your path, and your reality bends to your will. But what if that's the biggest illusion of all? What if the version of life you've been living is more like a dream you didn't know you were having? A simulation so convincing that even your doubts were part of its design. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your brain makes decisions before you even think you've made them. Your memories? They're not stored. They're rewritten, distorted, often fabricated. And that voice constantly talking in your head? It's not you. It's your past, your fears, your conditioning, on loop. You're not driving the car. You're sitting in the back, watching a movie you didn't direct, convinced you're the one in charge. But there's a way out, and it starts the moment you stop believing everything your mind tells you, because underneath the noise, beyond the thoughts, there's something real. Still, untouched by illusion. This video isn't here to improve your life, it's here to dismantle the false one. And once you see what's really going on, there's no going back. 1. The illusion of free will. Most people live under the impression that they're making choices, steering their life like a captain at sea. But neuroscience has shown that the brain initiates decisions before we become aware of them. That's not a philosophical idea. It's a measured fact. You think, I'll get up now, but the brain already set that in motion. So what's really happening here? You're not the creator of thought. You're the receiver, the witness, watching the illusion of control unfold. Imagine this. You're driving, and suddenly you take a turn, instinctively, no thinking involved. Later, you might justify it. I thought it'd be faster. But the truth is, the action came before the explanation. That's what the ego does. It narrates, it explains, it tries to stay in charge. But when you look closer, you see it's just a storyteller. And the story? It's written by something deeper than conscious thought. Here's a quick exercise. Pause for 5 seconds and wait for your next thought. Try to control what it will be. You can't. It arrives unannounced. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's nonsense, but it's never requested. That's the glitch. The mind gives you the illusion of authorship, but the pen is moving on its own. The question then becomes, if you're not writing your thoughts, who is? This idea isn't meant to depress. It's liberating. It means you can stop carrying the burden of perfect decisions. It means there's an intelligence beyond your conscious thinking, something watching from the background, something quiet. And once you catch a glimpse of that stillness, you start to wonder what else the mind is doing without your permission. 2. The mind is a hallucination engine. What if everything you see is just your brain's best guess? That's not a metaphor. Science confirms your mind doesn't show you reality. It builds a model based on what it expects to find. You look at a tree and think you're seeing tree, but really, your brain is translating light waves into shape, color, texture. It adds in memory, emotion, meaning. You're not seeing the world, you're seeing your version of it, a mental construction, a hallucination so consistent you forgot it was never real to begin with. The mind isn't interested in truth, it's interested in familiarity. That's why you walk into a room and instantly recognize patterns, faces, dangers. But what if the patterns are wrong? What if they were shaped by trauma, childhood beliefs, or culture? A man raised with fear may see threat where there is none. A woman trained to please may see disapproval where there is silence. Perception becomes less about what's there and more about what you've been conditioned to see. It's the illusion working in plain sight. Try this. Close your eyes and recall your kitchen. Picture the color of the counter, the shape of the table, the scent of coffee. That entire reality appears in your mind with detail and clarity, yet none of it exists in this moment. That proves it. Your brain isn't waiting for reality to show up. It's generating it. And if your kitchen can exist fully without being seen, what about the rest of your life? How much of it are you living in a projection made of memory and habit? The danger of this lies in mistaking hallucination for fact. You get angry and assume the situation justifies it. You feel doubt and assume something's wrong. But emotions, too, are filtered, created based on what your perception believes to be real. The ego feeds on this, constantly reinforcing the illusion. But deeper than perception, beneath the noise, is awareness. Still watching, the one thing not generated by the mind. 3. The voice in your head is not you. There's a constant narrator in your mind. It comments on everything: how you look, what you should have said, what could go wrong. Most people assume that voice is who they are, but here's the twist. If you can hear the voice, then you can't be it. You're the one noticing it. The voice is just the mind's radio, always playing something: news, judgment, fears, fantasies. And like a radio, it's not always tuned to the truth. In fact, most of the time it's recycling old noise from the past. That inner chatter often sounds convincing. You're not good enough. They're judging you. This always happens to you. But when you examine it, you'll realize it's not even your voice. It's your dad's tone, your teacher's disappointment, your ex's criticism. The ego grabs these voices and wears them like a mask. It wants you to believe that thinking equals truth. But thoughts don't prove anything. They appear, and if you believe them, they control you. If you question them, they dissolve like mist. Here's something you can try today. Whenever a negative thought arises, don't argue with it. Just say, "That's not me." Then wait. Listen. In that space, something else will emerge. A silence. A soft awareness that isn't judging, reacting, or planning. That's you. That's what's always been here, watching every thought like clouds passing in the sky. You're not here to battle the voice. You're here to notice that it's never been you in the first place. The problem isn't the voice. It's that we believe it without question. And belief turns illusion into suffering. The mind doesn't care about truth. It cares about survival. It will always choose the story that feels familiar, even if it's painful. But the moment you stop identifying with it, you begin to notice something else. A deeper presence. A stillness that doesn't need to explain anything. It just sees. 4. Memory is a lie. You keep rewriting. Memory feels like truth. It feels solid, like replaying a video of what really happened. But that's not how the brain works. Neuroscience shows that every time you recall a memory, you're not accessing a file, you're rewriting it. Your current mood, beliefs, and expectations all bleed into the story. It's edited on the fly. That means what you remember is not what happened. It's what fits your mind's current version of reality. Your ego uses this to build a consistent self, even if the foundation is fiction. Ever argued with someone about a shared event only to realize your versions don't match? That's not just forgetfulness, it's perception shaping memory. Two people, same moment, different realities. This isn't random, it's patterned. The mind filters what it wants to keep and discards or distorts the rest. Over time, your personal history becomes more about emotional narrative than factual record. And your identity? It's built on that shifting sand, layer by layer. If you want proof, try writing down a vivid childhood memory, then ask a sibling or old friend about it. Compare details. You'll likely be shocked at the differences. Not because someone is lying, but because memory is a living story, fluid, not fixed. And yet, we treat it as gospel. We build our regrets, our pride, even our limitations on top of memories that might not have unfolded the way we believe. That's the illusion most people never question. Your past feels like it defines you. But what if it only feels that way because you keep repeating the same mental script? What if those moments you're ashamed of weren't about failure, but about how your mind framed them? If memory is unstable, then maybe identity isn't who you are. It's who your mind needed you to be. And if that's the case, then maybe it's time to look beyond what you remember and see what's actually here. Now. 5. Perception is a filter, not a window. People assume they're seeing the world as it is, but that's not how perception works. You're not receiving reality, you're filtering it. Your brain edits what comes in based on past experiences, emotions, and survival instincts. It decides what's relevant and deletes the rest. That's why two people can be in the same situation and walk away with completely different impressions. One sees threat, the other sees opportunity. The world didn't change, only the filter did. This isn't philosophical fluff. It's neuroscience. Take the famous gorilla experiment. Participants were told to count basketball passes, and most didn't even notice a person in a gorilla suit walk through the scene. Why? Because they weren't expecting it. Their perception was focused, filtered. It's the same with life. You don't see what's there. You see what you've been trained to see. If you grew up around conflict, your mind will seek tension. If you learn to fear silence, you'll find noise even in peace. The illusion is shaped by what the ego wants to protect. So how do you break the filter? Start small. Next time you walk into a room, notice where your eyes go first. Is it the exit, the mess, the people who seem safe? Then shift. Look at something else, something you'd normally ignore. This retrains perception. It's not about forcing positive thinking. It's about becoming aware that you're choosing what to focus on, even if unconsciously. That's the gap between reacting and observing, between living inside the illusion or waking up to it. Your senses lie to you every day, not maliciously, but predictably. The ego doesn't want truth, it wants consistency, and so it filters the world to match its story. But there's a deeper awareness behind all this, a watcher that doesn't filter, doesn't judge, doesn't flinch. It just sees. And when you start noticing that perception is a filter, not a window, you start noticing that the self built around those perceptions might not be as solid as you once believed. 6. The self is a story, not a being. From the moment you're born, you're handed a script. Your name, your nationality, your values, your roles. None of these were chosen. They were downloaded into your system before you even had the ability to question them. Over time, these ideas crystallize into a character, the you think you are. But here's the twist. This self isn't stable. It's not fixed. It's constantly shaped by context, mood, memory, and environment. Who you are at work isn't who you are at home. That's not transformation, that's performance. And the mind believes the illusion because it feels familiar. Imagine for a second that you were born in a completely different country, raised in a different language, surrounded by different beliefs. Would you still be you? Of course not. Your preferences, fears, sense of purpose, none of them are fixed. They were constructed. And what's constructed can be questioned. Your identity is a psychological costume stitched together by the ego to give the illusion of continuity. But in truth, it's a shifting narrative that adapts moment by moment to stay relevant, to feel safe, to be liked. Here's something practical. When you say, "That's just how I am," pause and ask, "Who told me that?" Often you'll find it came from a past experience, a voice of authority, or a moment of pain that stuck. But you're not required to keep it. You're not bound to that script. Start rewriting it. If you've always been the responsible one, try being spontaneous for a day. If you've been the tough guy, allow yourself to be soft. These are not betrayals of self. They are explorations of freedom outside the story. And when the story starts to loosen its grip, you begin to feel something else, something that's not trying to be anything. It's not performing, not defending, not remembering. It just is. This is awareness. And while the ego may fear that letting go of the story means losing yourself, the opposite is true. What falls away is the illusion. What remains is what you've always been beneath it. 7. Awareness is the only real thing. When all the roles fall away, when thought stops and memory fades, something still remains. It's not a thought, not a feeling, not even an identity. It's pure awareness. It doesn't shout, it doesn't explain, it just watches. This awareness was present when you were 5, staring out a car window. It was there during heartbreak, joy, silence, and chaos. It's the only constant in a sea of change. Everything else is fleeting. Awareness is the quiet presence behind the eyes, the one thing the illusion can't touch. The mind is a clever magician. It distracts you with memory, sensation, perception. It tells you stories, plays characters, creates drama. But the awareness behind it never moves. It doesn't age. It doesn't panic. It doesn't need to be convinced. That's why spiritual teachers point not to thought, but to the space between thoughts. That space is alive. That silence is not empty, it's you. And unlike the ego, awareness has no agenda. It doesn't need to be right. It doesn't even need to speak. You can taste it in moments of awe, staring at the night sky, watching a child sleep, hearing a song that stops time. In those moments, the mind drops. Awareness takes the front seat. No labels, no filters, no internal debate. Just being. You don't create those moments. They happen when the illusion pauses long enough for truth to shine through. And the more you notice these moments, the more you realize they were always there. You were just too distracted by thought to feel them. Start practicing this. Sit in a quiet room, no music, no phone. Close your eyes and just watch. Not your breath, not your thoughts. Watch the watching. Sounds simple, it's not. The ego will try to hijack the moment. It'll tell you you're doing it wrong. But awareness doesn't care about technique. It's not interested in success. It's only interested in now. And as you learn to rest in that space more often, you don't become someone new. You remember who you were before the illusion began.